Today, the Penn State Nittany Lions receive a commitment from former USC wide receiver Kyron Hudson on the same day that quarterback Drew Allar announces that he is back for the 2025 season. I think this more than makes up for the departure of Beau Pribula to the transfer portal, and I don't think that Beau Pribula would have left Penn State if not for, let's be honest here, the crappy winter transfer portal window, which closes well before the playoffs are even over. So what I want to talk about here, in light of Allar returning for 2025, in light and with the context of Penn State's depth chart, not just as it stands right now, but especially in the future for 2025, and with Kyron Hudson committing, I want to talk about who are the Nittany Lions potentially targeting in the transfer portal, but also who I think they should be targeting in the transfer portal. Again, I'm no coach. I am no insider. I am just a college football analyst, a knowledgeable fan of college football who is providing my insights here. And I'm going to list a lot of players who I think are good, or players who could fit with Penn State, or players who it's been known that Penn State's targeting here in this video. So the Nittany Lions are going to be active in the portal. I think it's very clear that their NIL system is strengthened, or is at least stronger than it was in previous seasons. And with Allar coming back, with a lot of young players returning that stepped up this year, like Anthony Dunco, young redshirt freshman offensive tackle who was awesome on the offensive line. You had players on defense like sophomore A.J. Harris step up and become one of the better corners in the Big Ten. And Andy Kotelnicki reformed the offense, took it from an offense that against big-name teams, against the best teams, couldn't score any points, couldn't get into the end zone or in the red zone, into a unit that, as we saw against Oregon, can be pretty lethal. And as we saw against USC in the second half, as we saw against Ohio State even in between the 20s, just couldn't punch it in the end zone. A unit on offense that I think is pretty effective, pretty efficient, and we'll actually talk about that later here in this show. But let's focus in on the portal. And first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about Kyron Hudson, today's commit, at the time of this recording at least. Kyron Hudson had 38 receiving yards in 2024, this season. Had that awesome catch against LSU, the one-handed grab where he just, went up, grabbed the football, tucked it back down, and he had no drops this season. 462 receiving yards, he averaged 12.2 yards per reception, and he had 3 receiving touchdowns. I don't know if I would call him wide receiver 1 for Penn State, because I do like Harrison Wallace III, but I certainly think that Kyron Hudson is going to contend for being wide receiver 1. If he isn't, because Harrison Wallace III has eligibility, and I fully expect that he'll be back in 2025. I think he could use another year to further establish himself as an NFL receiver. Well, Hudson will certainly be starting with Harrison Wallace III. He is immediately a top 2 receiver in that Penn State wide receiver room that basically has Harrison Wallace III. Amari Evans has had some good games and bright moments, but ultimately, Julian Fleming transferring in didn't pan out the way that Penn State wanted it to, even though he did make some plays, like against USC, that saved Penn State's season. So I think in getting Kyron Hudson, the Nittany Lions, James Franklin, and Andy Kotelnicki are upgrading not just their wide receiver room in terms of depth, but in terms of top-end talent. And as a whole, they're upgrading their offense too. It's another weapon for Drew Allar, a possession receiver for Drew Allar, someone who can win one-on-one battles and who can make awesome catches where you can throw it to where only he can get it. So you can put the ball out of harm's reach while knowing that Kyron Hudson can maybe go up there and make an awesome catch. It's a wonderful get for Andy Kotelnicki, for James Franklin, and for Penn State. And after some of the announcements today, with Allar coming back and Hudson transferring in, and I know that other players are going to transfer into Penn State, because I figure if they're getting a player as good as Kyron Hudson, they're going to get some other players. This is a team to watch out for in 2025. I said last season in 2023 that Penn State wasn't going to win big in 2023. They'd have to wait until 2024. We'll see if Franklin can beat a team that has more recruiting talent, or at least traditionally for this season better coaching than what James Franklin and Penn State have. We'll see what they do in the playoffs. But in 2025, I think Penn State may have expanded their window for, I think, having some fantastic seasons, not just good or great seasons, but perhaps elite seasons. I think that the Nittany Lions still need some receivers, though. I think it would be beneficial to get at least another receiver, maybe even 2 more receivers from the portal. I made this needs and wants list before Hudson committed, because Hudson committed not even a few hours ago at the time of this recording again. But Penn State didn't just need 1 receiver to commit. I think you needed more, like 2, and maybe, just maybe 3, because Drew Allar's gone after next year. And right now he is Penn State's best quarterback in terms of NFL potential ever that Franklin has had. And he's played better than Sean Clifford in Sean Clifford's career. His entire career, Drew Allar's played better than that this season. This season, he has been more effective in some ways than some of Trace McSorley's seasons, more effective than Christian Hackenberg. I mean, you have to go far, far back. And I don't even know, because I'm a young college football fan, so I don't know, how far you'd have to go to find a quarterback that has had some of the numbers, at least efficiency-wise, that Allar has put up this year. And he should be even better next year, because he has good coaching and a great OC, and now a better wide receiver room. I think it would be beneficial to get an additional offensive lineman, 2 defensive linemen, as Devon J. Thomas is gone. Much of that defensive tackle room is gone. I know that Abdul Carter will definitely declare for the NFL draft after this year. I definitely expect that. It's not, of course, 100% certain, but we can be pretty certain of that. And then with Jalen Reed leaving, Kevin Winston Jr., and Jalen Kimber, I think picking up a corner and safety each could be a necessity if Penn State wants to contend for a national championship next season and a Big Ten championship. Some additional wants could be another offensive lineman on top of the one that I already think Penn State needs, an additional wide receiver, and also 2 additional DBs, because I do think the DB room is a little thin, could be even thinner next season. And while I think they're well coached, it's the transfer portal era, so take advantage of what you can get in the transfer portal. Some targets to talk about on the offensive side of the football, mainly wide receivers. For the Nittany Lions offensively, you have Dane Key, you have Eric Rivers, Justin Bowick, and Caleb Odom. These are players, a combination of players who I think Penn State should either go after or pursue, or ones that insider websites have reported Penn State is pursuing. Eric Rivers has 1,172 receiving yards and 62 receptions and 12 receiving touchdowns. That's someone to look at. I think he was the best wide receiver that Florida International had, and one of their best conference players. Dane Key from Kentucky, 715 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Bowick and Caleb Odom didn't do all that much at their respective schools. Odom was a former elite recruit. Bowick had 3 receiving touchdowns and almost 400 receiving yards at Ball State. Those are some names to pay attention to on offense. And then some offensive linemen in Teague Anderson, 6'5", 314 pounds, 788 snaps. He had a 81 pass blocking grade per Pro Football Focus. That's a name to pay attention to. And then there's Jordan White from Liberty. I figured Liberty's in pretty close proximity. He had a 87 run blocking grade with 781 snaps, 300 pounds. Kotelnicki loves to run the ball, and I think that picking up a great offensive lineman like Jordan White would really fit in, especially because I forget if it's Olivega Ione or JB Nelson or Sal Wormley, or maybe both, or maybe all 3. I think that Penn State's losing significant snaps at guard, so I think he would fit in right there. You look at some other places, mainly defense. I don't think Penn State necessarily needs. They might need a punter from the portal, but defensively, I hear that Penn State's been pursuing Bear Alexander, former elite recruit. Also, a Nye White, former elite recruit from Penn State. I don't know if I would go after Alexander. I know that Anai White's been at A&M his whole stop. I think he could benefit from Deion Barnes' development. He's one of the best D-line coaches in the country. I think that defensive tackle Keyshawn Silver from Kentucky, who's in the portal, could be a good get. And then in the DB room, there's Takario Davis, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Stroman. Stroman was injured this year, but great at Virginia Tech in 2023. Devonta Smith entered the portal from Alabama as a safety, and Takario Davis is one of the better cornerbacks in the entire Big 12. Entered the portal from Arizona. Had a good season in 2023 and another good season this year in 2024. So that's the state, I think, of Penn State's transfer portal targets, the ones that I've heard, and also just some ones that I'm putting out there that I think, hey, these are some really good players that Penn State can go after and really benefit from getting their commitment and getting their signature so that they can come and play for Penn State in 2025. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so that way you can get notified when new content from College Football with Sam drops. I appreciate you very much, and also share the video around to others who you know enjoy the sport of college football and love it as I do and as you do, and comment your thoughts down below so that we can have a conversation, because I want to know what you are thinking. And join our Discord server where we talk college football 24/7 via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. Thank you to my Heisman Patreon members, Crash2488, Brascal Rascal, and Conlo OH. Thank you to my All-American Patreon members, Chris Lane, Ismar, and Tyler Nye. And thank you to my All-Conference members, John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, Joshua Jorgensen, and Will Loftus. Make sure to check out my merchandise store and or Patreon page, or super chat down in the comment section below to support the channel. The Patreon page and merchandise store links are in the description or down below in the pinned comment. I hope you have a wonderful day. It is December, so Merry Christmas and also Happy New Year. I will see you guys soon.